Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about making custom cutting boards. Here are some examples that I've made in the past. I use all kinds of hardwood and I use end grain, sometimes, not always, but you'll see how I flatten them out, run them through the planer, and just prepare them for finished products. In the top left corner you can see an image of the original piece of cherry lumber that I started with. It's about 3.5 inches thick by about 9 inches wide, and it's about 36 inches long. Now there's long grain and there's end grain. There's a diagram of it that shows you the difference. End grain is more stable. It's like cutting into the tips of a brush instead of cutting into the edges of a brush. So once I had all of these sections planed flat, I glued them all up with the end grain facing up. I ended up making two different cutting boards out of the cherry. One is long and thin, and the other one is more square. So using the chop saw, I am securing my right angles and just taking off a very thin layer on these cutting boards that are made of cherry, the end grain ones. So for the sake of not being redundant, I did not film my planing these all again to make them the same thickness. So you can see there why I needed to square these off at right angles so they really sat flush against each other without any cracks in between. In order to make a really good glue joint too, you really need to make those right angles. Otherwise your glue will have nothing to stick to. I'm working on two of these end grain cherry boards at the same time, cutting boards at the same time. That's one half and the other one is underneath of it, and the other one I just showed you. So there was a section missing on those 4 pieces, and I decided to use it to my benefit, and I'm going to put a blue resin in the middle of it just for an unusual and interesting accent. So this is, they're joined together like that. So what I had to do was obviously make those all flat and right angles, but also cut pieces out of that triangular section to make them meet up nicely. I definitely have my struggles with this process. It just doesn't seem to have perfection down, you know, your tools and your angles, and maybe you need to cut a little less off or a little more. At this point, with all the burning that was going on, yes, the wood is very hard, but still, the burning isn't cool. So I went out and bought a 60-tooth Diablo saw blade and just paid up for it and wanted to have a better process. So your tools do make a difference. So you can see I had my struggles with squaring these things off, and I ended up going to a handheld planer to try and make it flat. And with many trials, I ended up getting it nice and flat and ready for glue up. So before I did the glue up on this rectangular squarish shaped cutting board, the one with the resin in the middle, you could see that diamond shape. I had to cut a little bit off of the edges so that it joined very well. So once everything was squared up, it was time to clamp. So you can see I've used some pretty heavy-duty pipe clamps there, and the 2x4 on top is keeping everything flat, which is important, and so are the other pieces aside. It just has to be dead flat, and it won't fit in my planer. Using a handheld DeWalt router, it's one of those small ones but very effective. I put I think it was about a 1/4 inch or thereabouts chamfer on the edge of it on both sides, not in the center, just on the both sides, and then I sanded everything down again. So now I'm moving on to the resin part. I picked a blue Pearlex and I'm just making sure it's got enough in there, and I've got tons of other videos on resining, and if you want to check those out as far as the details, one-to-one and the process, you can check those out. In fact, I'll probably leave a card, a square box at the end of the video where you can check out some of those. So the next day this resin dried very hard, but not quite hard enough. I sanded off what I could, and then I just let it sit there for a couple of days and get very firm. I'll come back with 80 grit to sand it flat to the cherry, and then go up with the grits, and then put a butcher block finish on it, let that dry, and then put the feed-in wax that I love to put on my butcher blocks and all kinds of projects. It really brings out the luster in the wood and makes a beautiful finish, very smooth. Now these are some other examples of cutting boards that I've made. That was spalted maple. This one is made of long grain, curly maple, cocobolo, lacewood, and mahogany. This one's made of mahogany, ebony, lacewood, cocobolo, spalted maple, and they're all matching, so what's on one half is the same as the other half. This is Osage orange. It's live edge on two sides, and it is one of the most dense, water resistant woods that I can think of. This is maple, lacewood, and mahogany. This one is maple, padauk, ebony, and leopard wood. The red part is padauk and the black is ebony. Some of these woods, when you're cutting and milling them, cause allergic reactions such as padauk, but once it is sealed and finished, you don't have to worry about that anymore. This charcuterie board with deer antler handles is made from spalted maple. This charcuterie board is made from a piece of cypress, very rare and valuable, very water resistant. Again, it has deer antler handles, and the slab was cut toward the bottom of the tree so you can see the crowning there. Again, this is a charcuterie board made of cypress. It has some crowning in it, has the deer antler tines on it, and most of these are live edge, so they get pulled from slabs. This is a box elder wood that is live edge as well as book matched. The red in it is indication of the box elder, and this thing was 36 inches wide. And finally, some experimental charcuterie boards. This is made from a veneer, very highly figured. This is walnut veneer, again highly figured. These next two with different colors in them are resin pours. I use acetone to get and create cells, so they're very unusual and very durable. This is a 2.25 inch slab of walnut. It is live edge and has some nice rayfleck in it. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, please subscribe. If you're interested in seeing more about the resin pours that I do, please click on one of these cards at the end. Thanks for watching.